Good morning, you guys. We are back again with Kickin Cancer Cares on KSLM Radio. Our sponsor for the second half is Venti's Cafe, and they have such amazing options for food. So it says at Venti's, all dishes are prepared as vegan as their first option, except when otherwise noted. Their little green leaf is a vegetarian as well. They do have animal proteins that you can substitute for, which are amazing, and grass-fed options. But like their burger patties are a lentil mushroom patty. And let me tell you, as somebody who's not a vegetarian or vegan that loves meat, that lentil mushroom patty is to die for. It is. I prefer that over the regular patty when I'm eating their burgers.
Well, and when we did the show at Venti's and Armando was cooking that, the smell was so amazing.
Yes.
I would never have guessed that there was no protein meat protein inside of that.
And then another thing that they do like a spicy jackfruit.
Yeah.
I think for like their pulled pork, and it is, oh my gosh,
it's amazing.
It smelled good, it looked good, it tasted phenomenal. So their options make you feel like you're not less than, and like you're eating real good, healthy, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So Venti's Cafe. And they have a dog menu.
They have a dog menu?
They do.
I did not know that.
I didn't either.
Well, I know where I'm going for lunch. That sounds great. We'll get the pizza a different time.
Yes.
That
and the sweet
great.
potato fries, they put shaved coconut and honey over the top.
So as soon as we were recording, Sarah's headed straight down to Venti's.
Just watch out. Yeah.
Maybe all
Field
four
trip.
of us should just head straight to Venti's.
Yeah, that sounds great.
My newest favorite is those sweet potato fries.
That sounds amazing.
I can't get over it. And they're just delicious.
It's that
I will
little
do
bit of
something
honey.
similar at home with like maple syrup and pink salt. Yeah, that sounds really good.
So good.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Okay, I'll move on.
No,
Venti's, thank you so much, Dino.
And now that we have shouted out both Mike Subbott with Odd Mo's and Dino with Venti's, I'm going to tell the listeners that we are in the development stage of a really fun idea.
Okay.
We're going to call it the Pay It Forward meal.
Oh. Okay.
And so you can go to either Odd Mo's or to Venti's, either one of them, and you can go, I would like to pay it forward to somebody else to get a good, healthy meal.
Nice.
Oh, I like that.
So I would go, I'm going to buy somebody's meal.
Yeah.
And there's some logistics we're still working out, so we'll give you much more details in the future. But the way that you know about it is through this radio show.
Okay.
Cool.
That's awesome.
So someone would be listening and they go, oh my gosh, I have a friend who could really use a good meal.
Yeah.
And then they would contact Amanda and we would contact Dino and they'd go get a free meal.
Okay. I love that.
So we've got really good, healthy options.
In the works.
And, I've got a little extra discretionary income right now and I would like to buy a meal for somebody.
Yeah.
So we're going to pay it forward meals.
Okay, perfect. I love that idea.
That's gonna be a lot
Keep
of
us
fun.
posted on that.
Okay. It's in development, but it's coming forward. So.
Oh, I know it will be. You don't let grass grow.
No.
You're a mover and a shaker.
Same. Feel that in my my spirit.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate Sarah being here, and it's never easy when you're a little bit vulnerable when you're telling your own personal stuff. It's a lot easier to tell somebody else's stuff than your own stuff. And what your husband went through is. You made an interesting statement that the husband that you knew a few years after you married him was not the guy that you met, and figuring out what had happened. Why is this all occurring? But you did mention that. Because of his exposure to the jet fuels, that it activated this RB1 gene.
Yes.
That it kind of sat dormant in his body until that triggered it. Except that by triggering it, the RB1 gene refers to retinal blastoma, which is an eye cancer. And retinal blastoma is predominantly a childhood cancer. So just knowing that, I brought you some statistics on retinal blastoma, and then you're going to hear how it plays into Sarah's family's life. It is a very rare eye cancer. It's typically a childhood cancer. The average age for a child who's been diagnosed with it is age 2. And half of the kids who get diagnosed with retinal blastoma, it is hereditary.
Okay. Wow, over half.
So how does that play into your family's life?
Yeah, so we're Android people, and I promise this is going somewhere. So we've always had Android phones. Cool. My in-laws, who were such a blessing when Lucas was young, he still goes over there to work on school and play with their dogs. She's 12 tomorrow, so we got back-to-back birthdays this week. So with that, Lucas was little, and they're taking pictures. He's the only grandkid. They're taking all these pictures, and they noticed that his eye would reflect white. which we all had phones back in the 90s, whatever. Well, you didn't have phones, but cameras, but like, you have the red eye, right? And so Android phones automatically filter out red eye. Their iPhones, which were a bit older, did not filter out anything unless you like went and messed with it. So his eye would reflect white, and they're like, have you seen this? Do you notice this? I'm like, no, we haven't. We take thousands of pictures too. So we take him into his eye doctor, and they're like, oh, it's probably, you know, a calcification, this and that, but we need to do more testing because he's a local eye doctor. So
and how old was he then?
He was about 1.5.
Okay.
So then we,
so we're at that 2-year age mark.
Yeah.
Right. But of course, like the in-laws had gone down the rabbit trail. They're like, it could be this, it could be that. And of course, I'm going down the rabbit trail, but I'm like, he's a little baby. Like, and he gets around just fine. He doesn't run into anything. He doesn't have any vision problems. So we finally make our way up to Casey Eye Institute, which, you know, Dr. Scallett's amazing. And of course, the Children's Hospital up there, and do a lot of testing. And he actually had stage D retinoblastoma. So it goes up to E. E is where it's in the brain. So it had actually started to spread along the optic nerve and was headed to his brain. And he lost at that point most of the vision in that eye. But little kids bumble around anyway, right? So you don't really realize that they're having any like perception issues.
Right.
And because the brain's amazing and it heals and like is so adaptive, which I'll get into on a later interview later. He had compensated. So he wasn't running into walls. He wasn't running into things any more than a normal toddler would.
Right.
And so we go up there. They're like, look, like, if we had caught this sooner, right? They always say that, right? If we caught this sooner, we could have done laser. We could have done this or that. They could have done chemo. We would have had to fly to LA or New York. And there was a pretty good chance he could have a brain bleed and die because they'd have to catheter him through his thigh. And like, it's very risky. No, and I said, Dr. Scala, what would you do if this was one of your kids? She said, I'd remove the eye. We said, well, that's what we're doing. And so
that's a good way to phrase the question.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I ask everybody, right? Like, where would you take your kid if XYZ happened, right?
Yeah.
And so we chose the eye removal option. We spent the night before, you know, not a great night of sleep in a little Airbnb, right? But we had my mom there and the in-laws, and we did that. And then for quite a while, he had like every 2 or 3 months, they do a sedated ultrasound on the other eye just to make sure nothing had come up. And now we're, 10 years cancer free. We just did a big family vacation celebrating that. Like, we put it out on Facebook, 10-year cancer free. People like were sending money for him to buy souvenirs at Disneyland. It was super cute. Like, people coming out of the woodworks just sending it. He has like this pot of money now. We're going to Legoland later. Like, thank you everyone. So that was super fun that people got to bless him. And now he goes once a year. And then every 4 years he has a check, a blood work and a check with more of a comprehensive panel to make sure those sarcomas aren't an issue. So we keep his vitamin D, K2 really high. It's important that you take K2 with your vitamin D so it doesn't calcify in your blood. And then we make sure, he's eating, he has a slushie from time to time, right? I'm not like that mom who's super almond mom, but we do really keep that autoimmune protocol going so that he has the best chance of preventing that sort of thing. So he'll be the kid that's like, oh, does that have food dyes in it? And I'm like, oh, I've done such a good job. And now it's just keeping his stress low. He does online school, so we can travel a lot with all our retreats and events. We make sure he's exposed to live music. Like, my friend Billy Mickelson, who I was just meeting with, he's 37 and he does cello music. And cello actually, like the vibration of cello, affects the heart chakra. So it affects your heart physically as well, which of course our heart pumps blood, right? So the more you listen to live music, recorded cello music, the more you move to it, you're actually healing your body. So I'm blessed to do a lot of life with him, and do retreats and do meditations. So with that, we create this environmental benefit for our whole family. And we have a lot of fun doing it, right? So we'll go on food adventures where we'll find a new restaurant that aligns with our beliefs about food. We'll go to the co-op and I'll be like, okay, I heard this from another mom, it was so brilliant. I wish I remember who said it because I shout her out. But she's like, I let my kid pick one new fruit that they've never had every time we go. So like, we don't have candy, we have fruit in the house. Like we had a dragon fruit, right? It's so fun and colorful.
That's my house.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah, we'll go to Hawaii and just like do the island and just go to every farm stand and get avocados like the size of your head.
Yes.
Huge avocados.
In Hawaii. Yeah, and they're like $3. Yeah, like bless the farmers in Hawaii. We'll drink coffee in Hawaii because it's lower acid, right? So we don't have a lot of coffee at home, but there are options where you're getting that antioxidant benefit. Like you're getting some benefit from it and it's better for you. and it tastes better. So we make it fun. So I don't, oh, my son had cancer and it was so hard, because then I'm telling my brain that things are hard and like that was a hard time. Yes, it was a hard time, but I'm rewiring my neurology to say this is an adventure of life and we've been through it. I don't even really use the word survivor. I'm like, no, like my son conquered cancer.
Yes.
And now we get to live this life by example of like, look at all these colorful and fun places you can go to heal your body. Like it's healing to be in Hawaii. It's healing to be in Thailand. It's healing to pet an elephant or pet a wolf.
Yes.
We're going to Sedona soon, right? Like, and my family's able to kind of tag along for part of that. So we can do, cello music under the stars with yoga. We can go to wolf sanctuaries, but that galvanizing journey of overcoming a very hard thing is what led us here, right? So we have options and choices because we leaned into the good. And that's what I'd want to encourage listeners is, like this girl is going to go through this ordeal with all this treatment, and my prayers and my heart go out to that. But you can make it an adventure.
Yes.
You can make it fun. And when you do that, you're actually telling your cells, let's go. Right, your go teams. Let's go. Let's make Russ's concert. Right, that was a fun night. Like,
so she was at Russ's concert.
And
it was such a fun evening.
Yes, it was
Just
so
such
fun.
a fun night.
And we were able to like donate a men's ticket retreat and some other goodies that we were happy to donate, and we'll do that again. By the way, anytime you want. But it's cool to see Lucas, the way he speaks about it, the way he'll just pop his little fake eye out and show you, to normalize it, right?
Yeah.
And it's like he should buy lottery tickets when he's 18, because it is like 1 in 2 to 3 million kids. So about 1 to 2 kids a year in Oregon.
Wow.
So it's not a high risk thing, and it is the most survivable of all childhood cancers, because once that eye was out, he was good.
Yeah.
And then we just check regularly, and we go up to Portland and make a day of it, right?
Yep.
So there's nothing about it that really led us to this place of like, oh, your kid's gonna die. But if it had been that next stage, there would have been bigger conversations about treatment.
So it's interesting what you just said about how you discovered it. We had a guest on a few weeks ago that had the kid that was 15 months old that had a brain tumor.
Oh, yes.
And he tumbled down the stairs, and they wanted to make sure he was okay, and they get in there and they discovered they had this tumor. So it was, he survived it.
Oh, good.
But it was a weird series of events that led to them. Otherwise, they wouldn't know what was there.
Yeah.
And in your son's case, they're taking pictures and like, did you see this thing that's like with this white eye? I mean, it's those little tiny things where I just say those little God moments where it's like, there's a problem.
Yes.
Let me show you there's a problem.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you were able to get to it before it became a bigger problem.
Yeah.
Because you said it was stage D.
Stage D, and E
would have been going to the brain.
Yeah.
But now he's 12 and living life.
Oh, yeah.
There's another phrase you use, and I love this because we've tried to encourage people. Robin Paulison, who we
good
all
friend
know.
of mine. Yeah.
So Robin, and it's about how your brain works, Amanda. It's really interesting. But people always say, I'm a cancer survivor. Okay? And it's the last thing that your brain hears that it grabs a hold of. And so with Robin, she doesn't say that. She says, I survived cancer. It's a change in verbiage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, in your case, your son conquered cancer.
Yes.
But by making cancer the last word in the sentence, it takes cancer's power away in that sentence for how your brain processes the sentences.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just a little tiny things, but that's what gives us power over cancer. And we've got to find a way to stop giving cancer the power.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I love the fact that you say your son conquered cancer.
Well, yeah, and I want to like take that on another level. I accept health in my body. So when other people around me are sick, I don't get their sick.
Same.
I go to their house. I hang out. I bring them soup. I hug them if they'll let me, right? If they're okay with that, because
Right.
boundaries matter. My kiddo will get sick. My son will get sick sometimes, rarely, like once every 2 years. If I get sick, it's out of my body within 12 to 24 hours because I'll take cayenne pepper, I'll do all the things, I'll hit it with NAC, I'll hit it with vitamin D, vitamin C, E, selenium, all the things, right? All the things that help your body process inflammation. And I'll drink tea all day long and, rest a little bit. And then the next day I'm good. So that's how I kicked a lot of things that I won't name because I won't give them power. But I've been through many journeys, and this journey is a complete and total acceptance of perfect health. And that is how I speak about my body. That's how I speak about others. I do not adhere to, oh, my kiddo's sick, we're all going to be sick. Like, I'm free of that. We're all free of that, because that is, you're telling the body, you're almost cursing yourself, really. Like, you're almost cursing yourself.
Yeah.
You kind of are. And I accept every good thing that is headed my way all the time.
I had a chance
that.
years ago to hear this amazing speaker. I was out in LA, and it applies with you. In fact, many of the listeners may know this guy's name, Ed Milet. Now,
I've seen him speak.
Yeah. So I had the pleasure of meeting him early on in his career. Turned out that his hotel and mine were close, and so I actually walked about a mile along the road and talked to him. Amazing gentleman. But there's 1,000 people in this room, and he's talked about the power of the brain.
Yeah.
And said the power of suggestion, okay? And so he said, if I walk past you and I said, are you feeling okay? And you would say, sure, I'm feeling fine. And then I come back maybe 5 minutes later, are you sure? Because you're a little flush. And if you do that enough times, and he said about 4 or 5 times, just going, I'm really worried. You're a little more flushed than normal, and you look like you're sweating a little bit. And he says, you could literally convince someone that they're sick when they're not.
Yep.
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
Because the first time by, I'm like, I feel okay, man. I feel fine. But 2 times.
Then you start
3
questioning yourself.
Yeah. And so he said, you don't even realize how much power words have in the brain, in the good or bad.
Good or bad. And
In
your
the
brain
good or bad.
believes what it hears, especially your own voice. So saying those affirmations out loud. If I go over to a friend's house who's sick, I'll say, oh, your color looks better. Oh, you're up and about. Oh, and even if, and that's honest, because if they're up and about, their color is better.
Right.
But I'll point out the good, even if they're still kind of, and that way they can hear that and maybe grab onto that without me being like, here's 5,000 supplements that I would take. Not everybody's ready to just go hard on the cayenne pepper, on the spicy food, but big fan. It's really true that the power of, our words and out of the heart, our tongue has power. So
Vibrate differently when we think positively.
Yes.
Totally.
Yes, we
Yes,
do. We
we
do
do.
vibrate
This is
differently
very
when we
true.
think positively.
The frequency of that, it emanates to everybody else.
Yep.
around.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to circle back to the book that I told you we were going to start referencing this book a little more often.
Yes.
So, interestingly enough, this was the book that I found when I started Kickin Cancer.
Okay.
I was gifted a book. Look at how much the font is almost exactly the
it's
same.
like the same font, but
It
it's
is
different
literally the same
authors.
font,
Okay.
2 different authors.
Yeah.
This book was gifted to me right
I
before.
wonder if those authors know each other.
Yeah, I think they
Or
might.
the publishers were like, these will look nice on a shelf together.
Yeah, exactly. So this particular author, he's French, so I know I'll slaughter his name, but David was diagnosed with a brain tumor and basically told that there was nothing he could do to affect it, which he didn't believe. So his book is all about creating this anti-cancer lifestyle. But early on, he references something. I think it ties in really well with what we're talking about here. There was a gentleman that was doing a study, and it was at the University of California at San Francisco, and it was in 2005. So 20 years ago was a study, and he was trying to determine how much lifestyle played into the fight against cancer. It's called integrative medicine. So he had 93 men with early stage, that's key, early stage prostate cancer, but it had been confirmed they did have it, and these men chose to go through the study under supervision of an oncologist. Half of them would go through what we would consider normal protocols. The other half chose to go down the integrative medicine path that this doctor was taking them down. And this is what I find interesting about the path he took them down. What they had to do was, over the course of the next year, they had to take a vegetarian diet. They had to do some supplements like vitamin E and vitamin C and selenium. They had to take some omega-3 fatty acids. They had to do physical exercise, 30 minutes a day of just walking for 6 days. So nothing seriously strenuous, but 30 minutes a day. They had to practice stress management, yoga movements, breathing like we did with Kate when she was on the show. Mental imagery, we talked about a little bit with Sarah, some progressive relaxation. So that was their stress management. They had and they had to do 1 hour of weekly participation in a support group with other patients in the same program. Nothing radical, right? No. But the medical community told him that this amounted to a radical change in lifestyle. It was outlandish, irrational, and based on superstition.
So annoying.
That doing this would have any effect on their prostate cancer. But he did it for 1 full year.
Good for him.
Right? And so half of them went down the traditional route, and half of them did what he was trying to do. The one that went on the traditional route, there was 49 of those patients, and 6 of them saw their cancer actually worsen, and they had to go through an ablation with the prostate. They had to go through chemotherapy and radiation. Conversely, the other half, none of those people had any worsening. In fact, they were, of the first group, there was a 6% growth in the prostate tumor, and of the other group, there was a 4% decline.
Yeah.
Yes.
But here's the even more powerful thing: is what they did is they would take blood samples, and they tested what that was called the RNA, and they noticed that there was a link between how well their body was responding to all aspects of their life. And they were 7 times more likely to be healthier with their heart, with their respiration systems. So this outlandish, irrational, based on superstition approach to medicine, which was just having a vegetarian diet, physical exercise, stress management, and a support group, worked.
Imagine that.
Imagine that.
Well, what I love about that is with what I do with people, like, it is creating that holistic lifestyle change. It is implementing small changes over time that honor you as a person, right? I'm not going to tell somebody who loves coffee to cut all their coffee tomorrow, but we could cut it back or switch it to something healthier. And that way you start to see the changes within yourself, you see the changes within your family. And I think I was kind of the first person in our friend group to be like, hey, do you know that there's petroleum in 98% of your skincare? And that causes cancer and messes with your hormones and makes you sick.
So I do want to mention the phrase we've used called go-to teams.
Yeah.
And I'm going to announce right now that we're adding Sarah and what she does to our go-to teams. So we can set a resource to.
Yes.
She does amazing retreats, and if that's something that would be beneficial to you. But you mentioned a minute ago, our skin is the biggest organ on our body.
Yes, it is.
And you and I were talking before the show how she dealt with some pretty bad psoriasis issues,
darn.
right?
Okay, yeah.
Except if I know that you have to make some changes, then you need a good product to do that.
Yes.
And you have one of those. Would you
do.
talk a little bit about it?
Yeah. So it's funny you mentioned 2005. So right around there, I started, I'd always been in sales. Like, my dad was in sales. I sold a few different other products through college, paid for my books. It's a story for a different day. But I found Arbonne at a time where I was offered some other skincare options. And I did my research, and I found that Arbonne at the time banned over 1,400 ingredients. Now we ban over 2,000. And what that means is we ban more ingredients than Swiss standards, which are the highest in the world. So we ban things like that petroleum, right? So if you look at a product and it does not state clearly mineral oil or petroleum free, it has it in there, 98% chance. And that magnifies the sun, causes skin cancers, all this damage. But more importantly, it traps heat, so that causes inflammation. And it's a chemical estrogen. So you're talking about Robin Paulison. She firmly believes that her deodorant caused her breast cancer. She'll tell you that all day long. I know that skin cancer was not really a thing before like 1960-ish.
Right.
Sunscreen had a lot of mineral oil in it as a binder. Funny that was all connected, right? Like 300 years ago, people were not, just... Anyway, so Arbonne, to be positive, that's like my negative stuff.
You made our producer's day right now.
Oh, yeah. So also I want to say one more thing. Rendered animal fat. So you guys know if you're ever driven by the rendering plant, it smells real bad. You'll know when you drive by it. That's also in 98% of American skincare and cosmetics, and it's preserved with things like formaldehyde, covered up with artificial fragrance, phthalates, cancer-causing, and is just nasty to think about your euthanized pets being boiled down, and they scrape off the fat, and they put it in a filler. Now, I love animals. I'm sure all our listeners probably do too. So that is the negative. So to talk about the positive, Arbonne, we are a B Corp, which means we put people and the planet over profits, which is important to me as a crunchy Eugene hippie with Christian hippie parents, growing up on a farm. And that means that we're not paying for sponsorships, right? You're not seeing our ads put on by influencers, right? We are a consultant-based company, and with that, we've got healthy protein. We're talking about healthy food, right? We've got healthy protein, healthy skincare, because with your skin being that largest organ, right? Like when I get tattoos, I don't brighten them up with the petroleum products they give you at the tattoo parlor. I use my own Arbonne products, and my tattoos heal really nicely. And I know that I'm honoring that healing process instead of trapping heat and causing potential for problems. So we've got makeup, we've got skincare, we got baby care, we have everything for everybody. We deodorant, like there's something to replace an item in your home, everything from items from $8 all the way up to over $100. So there's any price point, any budget. You can earn free products. It's really fun, and it's fun that it tastes good and it feels good.
Only because I know. Yeah, short time.
Yeah.
How do they get a hold of you, Sarah?
Yes. So several ways. I will definitely share my email, which is Matson, MATSON .Sarah@gmail.com. And then I will definitely make sure that you guys have that email to send out. That is my direct email. It goes straight to me. So I will get your email, and I can share more about my website. Because spelling it just takes a long time. So I'll send you all the links. And then I've got retreats coming up. We have Sedona and Zion in May, and we've got Thailand and all sorts of things.
And there's so much good stuff. We're going to have Sarah back again.
Yes, I'm going to come back.
We're going to come back and a whole new topic. So
all right, perfect.
Thanks for being here.
Then I'm going to give a huge shout out to Venti's Cafe. They are absolutely amazing. I highly recommend the sweet potato fries. That's my new love right now. Is their sweet potato fries. So go check them out, and we will be back next weekend as the movement continues.